Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like Oli Marmol, is about to be ejected. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host Ben Samorka.
I'm fired up today, Nate. Just like
Me
Oli.
too.
Yeah.
I'm at home plate. I'm drawing lines in the dirt.
When they mime it out, that is what you're looking for, right? Like when they are showing you and pantomiming what. Yeah, I mean, an argument does not get better than for me than that. It was magical.
I've never been more proud of Oli Marmol as the Cardinal manager than when he was screaming into home plate, drawing lines in the dirt. Well, in this week, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some injury updates and recent transactions. We're going to talk about some good news coming out of the pitching staff. We're going to talk about some adorable Budweiser cans and the firing of two Joes. If you have an idea for the opening joke, tweet us at Talk About Birds. Let's just jump right back into it, Ben. Marmol, he's been a little heated this week.
Rightfully so. So. I think the Cardinals, there's been some strike zone issues which happen. They seem to have clustered up in the past week since we last recorded. I know there was at least one pitch that was right down the middle that the umpires missed that actually went the Cardinals' way. But the umpiring's been a little shoddy this week. And I think we found where Oli Marmol's limit might be. And that is his bullshit meter can only be so filled before he absolutely explodes. And like I already said it, I couldn't have been more behind him. I think it was well timed. I think it was well executed. I also think it was genuine. Sometimes you'll see managers come out and they're trying to do some rah thing, or they're trying to, they'll go out there and say like, "Hey, toss me for this because got to get the team going or whatever."
Yeah,
but Oli was legit. He was mad. He was letting it be known, and I don't think he was at the point where he was thinking about the implications of his actions, which I, for one, appreciate.
Well, he chucked the iPad, which to me, Oli Marmol always seems like a guy who respects company property. So right out of the gates, he's throwing the iPad, charging out on the field, and you said it at the top, but I think I watched it like 10 times. Just so funny. Someone like staring at a home plate, drawing lines in the dirt, screaming at the umpire from like 25 feet away, giant hand motions. It's what you really, if you're gonna go all the way, scream at inanimate objects, do lines in the dirt, like go all the way. And it was awesome. And yeah, I think it has been a frustrating week. I mean, Albert Pujols was struck out on 2 strikes.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that didn't actually happen. He was able to correct the umpire, but that felt like kind of a culmination of a lot of bad calls.
Yeah, and it seemed like the umpire must have been flustered after the whole dust up, and then but to lose track of the count, you see that happen every once in a while, but I can't remember the last time it happened in a game that I was watching. And then, of course, I think just probably salt in the wound, and the umpire was freaking out the fact that it was, a inner circle Hall of Famer, like one of the best players of all time. And the way that Albert turned around and flashed him the 2 strike sign, like that, if looks could kill, man, that was entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, mistakes happen. It's kind of like, to me, that's like when a baseball player miffs a slow grounder right at them. Like, there's that percentile chance you can mess up anything. But that is still it's like just counting. And also it's on like 4 different screens like right around you too. So it is pretty surprising when they mess it up that bad.
Yeah. And I think, that I'll give Oli some credit too. And by the way, I'm not being critical of him whatsoever, but give Oli some credit. I think he's also, when calls are going the wrong way, obviously the pitching staff is a certain point where they're a little depleted, a little overworked. I think that Ali might just be a little high strung right now and a little like, why must you do this to me? And,
Yeah.
we saw, exactly how that boils over.
We already have to play 5 games at Wrigley
Right.
Field. Like, is this come on, like I don't need to deal with bad officiating as well. I wonder if he was screaming like robots. We like, because I think
You
that
should
would
be
be like,
replaced.
yeah, at this point, like I think if you really wanted to be an asshole to an umpire, it'd be just like, I can't wait for robots because it
Well,
certainly seems like some degree of that is coming.
and obviously we're talking about this through Cardinals colored glasses as always, but it's just seemed like it was on high leverage counts, bases loaded, count full, wide strike called, or something like that. It just seemed to keep happening that way, at least a few times in that Cubs series. Like I would have been thrown out, I think. Like, and I don't think I'm a hyper confrontational person. Like, I think I would have gotten the boot on some of those calls. I think even Jim Edmonds was saying that. He's like, I think he said something when Edmund got called out on a very wide strike. It's like, I don't think I would still be in here if that one was called on me. And Edmund,
Yeah.
being the consummate, Stanford man or whatever the hell, he put his head down and walked to the bench and kind of lightly shook his head in disagreement. But
Yeah. Well, I think the players have gotten a little bit better at that, mostly because they are thrown out almost immediately for
yeah,
arguing balls and strikes. But like, it is the players, especially someone who is a pretty important player on the team right now. Like, you can't get thrown out for arguing balls and strikes. But if you are, do it like Schwarber did when he was also,
yes.
drawing lines in the dirt and screaming at home plate. So,
I like
uh,
the move of, eat it, walk away, and then at your next AB, you've had a chance to go look at it on video or on the iPad and say, that ball was outside, right?
yeah.
Just go subtle. You don't need to make a whole thing out of it, but let them know they're wrong.
Well, the twice now where the ball has been called foul, like right
What
in
the
front of
hell?
the,
Yes.
yeah, Yachty is going back up there and being like, "Did you watch the replay in between innings?"
Yeah.
Because like he's been right both times, and the umpire has been wrong both times about it.
I don't understand how. So we'll talk about the one that happened last night off of Choi. He drove it into the ground, bounced off the ground, went all the way to the first baseman. Paul Goldschmidt catches it, walks and steps on the bag. How in the hell would an umpire, first off, not see the direction of the ball change, not hear like hitting somebody's foot or their shin guard sounds a lot different than hitting the dirt.
Yeah,
Also, the ball traveled 90 plus feet and Choi act like it didn't even hit him. So if that
yeah,
were the case, he would be on the ground rolling or at the very least limping. Just like the situational awareness, I think is the part that bugs me. And of course, like Yachty, it's almost like you're a teacher and you have like the principal like watching your class or something like that. You're not going to slip anything past him, and he is going to call you out on it like
yeah.
in less than a second. He's just going to be all over you.
Yeah, and that also highlighted to me some of the inconsistencies with what can be reviewed via replay. Like I get some of it because of how like you can't predict how the field would have reacted once
Sure.
the call was made and things like that. But for this one, especially considering like the outcome of it.
When the answer is binary, it either hit him or
Yeah.
didn't. Like
Yeah.
there's no area for interpretation there. It either hit the guy or it didn't hit the guy.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's frustrating. So all hail our future robot overlords.
Although
I,
the
I
one
know you don't agree with that, but
the Choi one, that what this the robots aren't going to fix that. That's just a guy
no.
not paying attention. Or
Yeah,
maybe
well,
I guess could you reasonably assume that if robot umps are happening, that the umps will have the ability to focus on things outside of solely the strike zone more? Like, is that a possible win for robot umps? I don't know.
one thing that I have thought that might be kind of what you're talking about here is that I've not heard this actually talked about like in real discussion, but I feel like this is where it could go, would be some sort of attachment of sensors to the ball and attachment of sensors to like gloves and the base and things like that, where like I think you could get to a point where we could have a connection where, like, when the ball hits the glove, and if the first baseman's foot is on or is on first base, it like completes a circuit, and then it just measures when the runner's foot hit first base, and you could like literally have like down to the second based
Yeah.
off of sensors. And then you'd have to have an umpire there for some degree of like, ball control or whatever it might be. But I feel like we could get to a point where there is this sort of connection between the tools of the game. And
Yeah.
I think with that, then you could have some sort of robot connection between like the ball, and it connects with a person, or
Right.
like connects with their jersey or whatever. And so there's no longer it's someone's opinion whether it hit them, but like the data says it hit this
Yeah.
person, the data says it hit the ground and then rolled. Like you could have all of this. I mean, we have cameras now that are tracking in real time spin rate of
Right.
a tiny ball from, quite a distance, right? So like I think we could have these sorts of sensors, especially if you start to think about technology inside the ball, inside the glove, and inside the plates.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I
I
don't know,
always go
purely
back to
speculation.
the tennis example. I don't watch as much tennis as I used to when I was younger, but they can get they can track with their camera technology. They can track the way not only where the tennis ball hits, but the way that it like flexes and bounces off the ground and get within like a millimeter if it touched a line. Like the fact that we're not using even that kind of technology is kind of crazy to me, but I also understand that all these reviews, people are fighting that, and I'm even fighting that a little bit, as a bit of a old school fan of the way it was. But I agree. I think that's really interesting. You should pitch that to Rob.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Actually,
Rob,
let's
man,
delete this section, start
yeah.
our baseball startup, and then sell this to them. Get funded by MLB, and then we'll
I
go from
have
there.
to imagine that I'm not the only one and it might even be in play somewhere. There's all these crazy leagues that are trying out different
Right.
things.
Well, yeah, you say that, but PitchCom seems like a pretty like an advancement we probably could have handled in the '80s, and we're just now seeing it. So I don't
That's
know.
a good
Baseball seems
point.
to drag their feet on these kinds of things.
Yeah, and the like those things must drain batteries like crazy, or like some locker room guy is supposed to keep up the pitchcom stuff, and they're not doing a great job. Every game I watch where someone has pitchcom, there's some sort of problem with it, which is amazing.
Like the fact I can control my Spotify from home at work and change the volume and adjust like which channels it's playing to and manipulate all these things. Like how can this company not have a good secure solution? This is not that difficult.
Well, did you know the Cardinals were the last team to use pitchcom?
I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised. And I will say, like, we're going to talk about the pitching later, but seeing like Dak and Mikolaus pitch with PitchCom, those two guys who work, who are working faster and making a point of it, the game screams when they're using it. I am
Yeah,
all for it now that we've had I don't know how many innings we've watched with it, but I think
yeah,
the biggest benefit is the way in which it speeds up the game. The pitcher being able to get the signal while they're not even fully set. They're
they're
not
not
looking
set.
in. They
Yeah.
they can be looking at the ground and get the sign and then go. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. We talked a lot about like during one of the episodes, we talked about the like various sign stealing controversies, and like sign stealing has existed since the invention of signs. And like, I think the only way to truly solve it is to get rid of signs, not
Yeah,
come up with like, whatever their other solutions are. And this does that. Now it'll be interesting to see if like, I'm just imagining the Yankees with some sort of intercepting,
yeah,
like tiny little satellites all around the stadium intercepting enemy pitch comms or something like that. Someone's gonna definitely try that. But still, I think it's a net gain. Like there is, unless you are just truly like obsessed with every element of how the game used to be, including someone looking into the catcher and then putting down the fingers and all of that. Unless for some reason you have a significant attachment to this system, even with its quirks, which I'm sure they will work out,
yeah.
it is a significant improvement.
Yeah, and I'll say I already said this. Like, I definitely fall into the old school fan or whatever, the shouting at the clouds old man meme. But I'm a huge proponent of the pitch clock. I'm excited for that to be coming, and it
Yeah.
seems like pitch clock plus pitch calm is a match made in heaven, and that, those two things together should speed up the game quite a bit. And again, you have no issue with, like, there you have your time. It's 14 seconds or 15 seconds or whatever. If you have the pitch calm, you don't have to worry about throwing down 4 sets of signs and then having to make sure that everyone's on the same page. You just hit curveball and you throw a curveball, and only you and the catcher and a couple of the infielders know it. It all is culminating into, I think, finally, like, this is the change that baseball should be making to improve the game, not all this other little Manfred pet projects. This is the thing that makes the most sense to me.
Someone on one of the broadcasts, it might have been the national one, but it might have also been the local one. This is not helpful. Someone on one of the broadcasts said,
a human being in the baseball sphere
also mentioned that some of the teams now are thinking of different ways to use PitchCom to communicate to their infielders and their pitcher at the same time for like setup plays as well. It's not, it is, of course, way more effective for communicating what pitch to throw, but it's also just a way for the catcher, the infield, and the pitcher to communicate with each other. And so some teams are starting to sort of expand that use and set up pickoff plays, set up defensive alignment, set up different things. And that seems like a cool new element to baseball that we might not have seen before. If you've got like a secret language going just through people's hats that allow them to, get someone in a rundown that wasn't expecting it or something like that. Like, I think that's cool too.
That seems like the natural progression. And I also, it feels like we can't be far off from just having a straight up intercom, like even a two-way type thing in people's helmets, or in their hats and helmets, really, wherever. But yeah, it all favors in speeding up the game. I do not care about the intricacies of signs and flashing signs from the bench, and just tell the people what you want to do. Don't let the team hear it. Use the system. Yeah, it makes all the sense.
I want a microphone and a headset directly into the batter's helmet so they can hear me saying things like, "Hey, batter, batter, batter. Hey, batter, batter, swing."
So this is you heckling your own player?
We want a batter, not a broken ladder.
That's good.
Yeah, I think that would help.
You're heckling your own players in this scenario, though. Is that to be okay? Good.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like, it would be fun if I could just route into the other team's headset and heckle them, but if all that I can get through is that I can heckle my own players, I'm still gonna have a good time. Maybe there's a high dollar seat in the stadium, that like gets plugged into the network.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, I'll include that in our pitch to Manfred for our other idea. I think he'd be all over that.
Well, and it streams exclusively on fucking
Paramount Plus.
Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It's the Disney Plus seat of the game that, if you subscribe to Disney Plus and Hulu, you get to connect directly into the headsets of the infield.
Of course. Brought to you by Energizer batteries.
Yes. All right. Well, let's talk about some other topics.
Yeah.
Lots of
one other thing I just wanted to, I cannot wait for the next sign stealing controversy where somebody has somehow broken the wireless protocol and is just straight up stealing the signal. Like, that is going to happen at some point. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think the Yankees are probably already working on it. Hacking the mainframe.
You get it.
They didn't notice we put they're wearing the wrong hat. They're actually wearing our hat. Got him. And somehow there'll still be trash cans. All right. So new bunch of updates this week. The last month we've seen a surge in injuries, but things are starting to come back. For better or worse, the Cardinals have been playing maybe the best ball they've played all season in the last 3 weeks, despite all these injuries. But I think we all can agree that objectively, it's a good thing that someone like Tyler O'Neill is back with the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler O'Neill coming back to any team in the big leagues would be a big thing, a good thing
Yeah.
for them. But yeah, like only 18 games, but how long did that feel? That felt like forever to me.
Yeah, it really
Missing out
did.
on Ty Ty. Great to have him back. 2 hits in his first game back. He was crushing down in his rehab assignment, so that was really exciting. I know we saw, it seems like he was a little in between towards the end of the game last night. We're recording here on Wednesday, on Tuesday night's game against the Rays. It seemed like he was sitting off speed and couldn't catch up to the fastball. That's okay, though. I thought, him just getting back, getting his legs, moving and at a major league ballpark is great. But yeah, I mean, we kind of there's a really interesting kind of intersection of super young guys and super old guys on the Cardinals. And if, you can fill those in with people like Harrison and people like Tyler, you kind of have those prime guys, the guys who are in the prime of their career too. It definitely feels like there's a little bit of magic with these kids and the old guys performing well. And I don't know, it's yeah, but I guess to kind of circle back, how good is it to have Tyler back?
Well, when you
But
consider
talking
the
circles,
alternative has mostly been like, we've been getting a lot of left field Corey Dickerson.
right?
And so like, even though O'Neill had not necessarily been playing very well for most of the season, I think we'll all take the upside of what O'Neill could return to. And like you said, he looked generally pretty good last night, hit the ball hard. We'll take that defense
Yeah,
every day and, just hope that he can figure it out, which I think we're all pretty confident he can. I think we'd all kind of hoped that like 2021 Tyler O'Neill, he's locked in and that's just the player we're going to have going forward. And because, there's an argument to be made for that. Every year he'd been getting a little bit better,
yeah,
a little bit better. And then it finally culminated in what it was last year. And I was like, all right, he's there. I think now we see that like his approach is a pretty delicate balance and it doesn't take much for him to be off. And, that's what we're seeing, or at least we saw in the first month and a half of the season. But hopefully the time away and the time in the minors has reset him and we can get back to peak Tyler O'Neill, because there's not really a more fun player on the team than when Tyler O'Neill is crushing. Bader will give him a run for his money on just like the
yeah.
most fun to watch playing. But there's something about the Tyler O'Neill moonshots and just his overall demeanor, tiny Mr. Canada, that like is so fun and funny to watch.
Yeah, the way he goes about it, the whole thing. I agree
Yeah.
with you, and I think like it probably is good for Cardinals fans to like place their expectations somewhere in between what we saw before the injury and what we saw last year. Like the guy, I think you shouldn't be surprised in knowing that this kind of play style is, like you said, a delicate balance and prone to somebody who's probably going to go on a streak where he's the best player in baseball for a week or 3 or 4 or something like that, and then he might go into a slump. But I think we were kind of talking about this. It was really about the week before his injury. He started to really crater. But even before that was happening, we hit on this. His peripherals were looking good. His ball like contact was really solid. He was hitting the crap out of the ball. He had the hardest hit, peripheral numbers on the team. Now Paul Goldschmidt has overtaken him since then. But at the time, you could argue that he was getting unlucky, and that's also, that's how baseball go.
Right.
As it's been said. So I think there was some doom and gloom that was probably a little over dramatic from a lot of the folks and probably even from us. And I have all the faith in him, and I'm sure he'll come out here and just start pounding the ball.
Well, and if the rest of the team keeps playing like they have, or at least the majority of the team keeps playing like they have, he'll have some space to recover. His issues looked a lot worse when he was batting fourth, and also Arenado was struggling at the beginning
Right.
of May. Also, Edman was starting to come back to earth. Also, Bader was full of swing and miss, and Carlson was full of swing and miss. It's like, we have room on this team, especially with how they're performing now, to have guys sort of come in and out of production.
Right.
But who should have been, one of your top 3 guys is really struggling, it really stands out, So, yeah, I like you said, I think there's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot that can sort of not explain away, but at least explain some of the struggles that he had at the beginning of the season and how easily that could turn around some of his underlying numbers. So we'll see. Again, he looked good last night. Hopefully it continues and we get that dream scenario of a red hot Goldie, Arenado, and O'Neill all at the same time. You know, we got some good news on Jack Flaherty as we continue the discussion of good news stuff. Flaherty is in a rehab assignment and by all accounts, feeling good, looking good.
We saw a tweet saying that he hit 98 once or twice in those 3 innings that he had. 3 innings, didn't allow a hit, no earned runs, of course, no walks, 3 Ks. Obviously against weaker competition, but the fact that his velo was there and he didn't walk anybody, I mean, what else do you take from a little spot tune-up start in the lower minors? Pretty exciting.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the pitching staff in general here in a moment, but Tyler O'Neill coming back is fun, and you can never have a shortage of Gold Glove and MVP quality at bats. But I think we all agree that a healthy Jack Flaherty is the single most impactful return the team could have by a mile right now.
Yeah, with Alex Reyes on the outs, he's not going to contribute this year because of injury and the surgeries and all that stuff. Jack Flaherty is the linchpin. He is the guy. He is the most important person on this team right now. I would argue, as far as changing the direction that the team is going in, a Jack Flaherty that gives these Cardinals 140 innings of what we think Jack Flaherty's capable of. You're talking about going from kind of, just being a half game behind the Brewers to being in a pretty commanding position in the Central, I would say. And I think, with the offensive production that we've enjoyed so far in the first couple of months, putting a Jack Flaherty on this team is, I'm not saying best team in the league or anything like that, but they're in the top third or whatever you want to call it, I think pretty easily.
I think given the current standings, given the current strength of schedule remaining for the rest of the season, a healthy Jack Flaherty who's also performing, because even though he's been healthy at times, he's also not, he's had ups and downs in his performance, but a healthy, very effective Jack Flaherty. I do think you could say the Cardinals are the favorite for the Central. There's a lot of ifs there, but I think there's a lot of reasons why you could support that thought as well. So we'll see. He's likely going to get a start in the big leagues, assuming no setbacks. Knock on all of the wood in the universe. We should see soon. And like most guys, I'm not expecting his first start to necessarily be an immediate return to form, but just having him back will be.
I think I'm gonna go run through a nearby forest and just start punching trees. This is for Jack.
This is for Jack. Oh, Ben, don't punch us.
Whop.
So on some less fun but significantly less impactful transaction and injury news, Corey Dickerson has found himself on the 10-day IL.
He hit 2 dingers and then knocked himself out.
Yeah, it's all he had in him.
Yeah.
He and one of those was off of a 35 mile per hour ephus pitch in the top of the 9th.
Yeah, he goes on the 10-day IL calf strain. It doesn't look like it's that bad. Dylan Carlson's also rehabbing right now and seems to be playing quite well. If Dylan comes back before Corey, does Corey come back on the team? Who gets moved down? Because you can't move down Brendan.
No,
I would be shocked actually if they moved down Brendan Donovan.
No, I don't. I think
you can't move down Gorman.
That's the big question coming up: is where do you play Brendan Donovan? Because he needs to play every day, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe Yepes, who has cooled off a little bit, but I'd still give Yepes every at bat that Dickerson would get. 100% of the time, I'd rather have Yepes take those at bats.
Yeah, and it seems like the Cardinals have kind of settled into they're definitely sitting Gorman against lefties which, I will say I was kind of arguing against that. And then I saw he had an at bat against a lefty in the Cubs
Yeah.
series, and man, it looked really bad. That was,
Yeah.
if you remember the play where he swung, missed, the ball got past the Wilson Contreras, and Gorman didn't notice it right away, so it didn't run to first in time, and probably would have been safe if he did. That doesn't matter. What are you going to do? It's hard to see the ball when that kind of thing happens, but his
You never like
approach.
to swing and miss at a ball that the catcher has a hard time
Yeah.
catching.
Yeah, that was really bad, and didn't look great. And, we'll talk about Gorman later too, but the profile works against the right-handed pitchers. There's a lot of right-handed pitchers in Major League Baseball. That's fine. But if the Cardinals get into some type of cadence of Gorman starting against at second or at DH against righties, Yepez getting the DH start when Gorman is playing second base, and then Donovan picking up obviously the good news is that he can play every position on the field other than catcher and center field, and probably could play center field. Although you'd have to imagine that Carlson is probably a better spot starter in
All
there
three of
than
the outfielders, I think you'd still put over him,
yeah.
assuming O'Neill, Bader, and Carlson would all go in center before Donovan. But you're right. I mean, he probably could. Hell, he could probably catch if they needed him to.
Yeah, and he'd just be like, "Oh, I guess I need another glove, Skip."
Let me grow 3 more inches of my hair and get me behind the plate.
But I think just the, how dynamic he can be, and the fact that he can play every position, like there will be starts. Everybody needs days off. Tyler, Dylan included, Harrison included, and then all 4 spots on the infield as well. So I think those starts are going to come. Where exactly, I don't know. Maybe somebody will get hurt. This stuff always seems to work itself out. And I guess kind of getting back, does it make sense against lefty starters? You're going to have Donovan starting at second base, and then Yepez or Pujols in the DH position. That's probably looks something like that. But
so then where's Dickerson?
Where's Dickerson go?
Right?
He doesn't have a spot on this team anymore.
Yeah.
It almost makes me I think the injury was legit, but it almost makes me think the IL thing was maybe. I don't think there's they're tricking us or anything like that, but it almost makes me think, oh, can we have another week and a half to think about what the hell we're going to do here?
And teams do that, obviously. We know they do that. Yeah, I'm imagining Mozeliak
subterfuge was the word I was looking for.
Nice. Yeah, he's like, hey Corey, great game, how you feeling? And he's like, oh, it's a long game. I'm a little sore in my right leg. And Mozeliak's like, ooh, okay, we're gonna need to we can't have you hurt. We're gonna have to get you on the IL. Get him out of here. Get him on the IL. O'Neill's back.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we also I think it I don't know what to think, because I would have said the same thing about TJ McFarland a week and a half ago, and he's still kind of kicking around. So yeah, I don't know, but
Dickerson, your last guy in your bullpen is such a distinct use case than the last guy on your on your bench,
and how do you argue that Corey Dickerson deserves ABs over any of the kids?
Yeah, I don't think you can, especially with how good Donovan has been and what we've seen from Yepez. And I the only argument would be is if they really decide one of these guys, the best thing is for them to be playing almost every day, and they're and they want to do that thing where they send them down to AAA so they get every day at bats. But I don't see that being the case for anyone. None of these guys are struggling in such a way that that common narrative comes through. I mean, again, Yepez has cooled off a little bit. Maybe they say that with him, get him down there so he can play every day. But still, I don't think that really makes sense. And it's not like Dickerson's on some crazy contract.
That, and also he is still hitting below 200.
Yeah, what are you gaining? Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's exactly what you said. He's on the IL, to kick the can down the road a little bit, see if Tyler stays healthy and if Carlson comes back healthy, and assuming no issues, I think they cut Dickerson and move on, especially when you consider Alec Burleson is crushing it down in the minors too. So you got another guy that fits that profile. So
except for he's younger and better and cheaper.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? He can, he'll play outfield positions,
Yep.
So all right. Well, with that, we also want to, give a fond farewell to Kramer Robertson. We barely knew ye.
Yeah,
Congrats on your big league debut with the St. Louis Cardinals. Seemed like a great guy. What a fun
sure.
little moment that was when he got called up. But
Yeah, good
he
hair. He's
has,
got good flow.
yeah. Uh, he's been claimed on waivers by the Braves. So can't
Hi.
wait for him to hit 30 home runs next year.
He's going to usurp Dansby Swanson and take him to the World Series somehow. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I guess not much to say about that. Just a transaction.
Don't expect Kramer Robinson on the Cardinals anytime soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But hey, speaking of infielders and their path through the majors, Ben, you did a little bit of digging on Gorman, and you have some interesting stats to share.
Well,
So
it's you know how much I love saying one of the Cardinals players and something that they're doing well, and then throwing out some really gaudy names next to it, right? And this is just an example of that. So fun Gorman note: left-handed batters with the highest rate of hard hit line drive fly balls since Gorman's debut. So again, not too long, small sample size. He came up May the 20th. But he is leading that category right now with a 46.4% hard hit on line drive fly balls since he's come up. He is above names like Joey Votto, Kyle Schwarber, Jordan Alvarez, who just got a big extension and Nate and I were talking about him off mic before we started recording, and just a fantastic player.
he good.
And Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, obviously Gorman is being protected against lefties a little bit, and that I think that rollout's been a little different than maybe we all expected, or at least I expected. But man, oh man, how exciting is that? When he hits them, they go.
Dude, that home run against the Cubs. That was like a dead center pitch that he just every bit of it. That was so much fun.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but there's something about reading the prospect notes. You see the 70 grade raw power and blah blah blah, but then you see it in a big league game, and it's just so exciting. And the Cardinals, they have obviously, like, Goldie hits the ball hard, and there's Yepez hits the ball hard, but Gorman's got a different level to it. And those numbers that I just quoted kind of point that out. But he's so fun.
Since he's been in the league, he has been the best at hard hit percentage on line drive and fly ball. So, like, you can't do much better than that.
Nope. There's not a level above this.
Him,
and yeah. And like those names those aren't cheapies. Those are some of the best players in baseball. Maybe Schwarber is the only name in there that's kind of like, but Jordan, Harper, and Votto are all pretty good. Also, Votto has like totally turned his season around and is starting whacking balls again, which baseball's better with Votto being good.
Yeah. It's Votto. He's like, I woke up this morning and decided maybe I should hit the ball really well. and there he goes. I love Votto. Did you see just recently, it was a 20-year like anniversary of when he signed with the Reds. And so he's posting all these pictures of like signing day, and it's like a baby Votto. And also it's like, man, even camera quality just 20 years ago was so bad compared to what we're used to now. It's like, looks like a picture from the 80s of Votto signing this contract. And it's like, no, that was just the early 2000s.
Yeah. Oh, even when they show some of these like Wayno and Yachty highlights and Pujols highlights, you're like, what era was this done? Like, was somebody filming this on a potato?
I know we're both huge fans of the baseball documentary, Ken Burns Baseball, and you can see that like progression of camera quality. And it's like not even really till like the 2010s that it becomes similar to what we're used to today, which is the like high def, high quality.
I can't watch a game if it's not in 4K, Nate.
Oh my God. I can't watch a game unless I'm plugged directly into my TV with my, I've got my Oculus Rift VR headset on one eye and my PSVR headset on my other eye.
Oh God.
I'm in the metaverse now.
You know what would be cool, and maybe they're working on this, but if you could do a VR headset and if you could just be like, I'd like to watch the game from third base. I'd like to watch the game from the pitcher's mound. That they should figure that out. I don't know how the hell they would do that, but I don't know. Apple could figure that out.
If you have
I
enough
would pay
cameras,
money for that.
yeah, if you have enough cameras, I think that seems super realistic to me, with the amount of imaging they're able to make. If you can basically create that, they're already doing crazy VR meetup stuff, that would be cool. I could see them doing that. I could also see them being very protective of like the in-game experience, and
Yeah.
maybe it'd be something where you still have to pay like a like a ticket price or something.
I'm less on board then. We'll see. I don't know.
And then you get to go up and whisper in the pitcher's ear through their pitch comm.
Curveball. Give me the ball.
That would be wild if it was like total free reign where you could just walk around on the field like as it's happening.
Saying that would be incredible. Like squatting down next to Yachty or standing in the batter's box with Albert Pujols or something like that. That would be incredible.
Yeah. Get at, man, we are full of ideas on this episode.
We're going to have to shelve this episode. Sorry.
I know. All right. Well, what else do we want to talk about? I guess let's talk a little bit more about the pitching staff. Interesting week for pitching. Anytime you have 5 games in 4 days at Wrigley, wind blowing out, you're expecting, some needs arising from the pitching staff, and we had no shortage of interesting outcomes. I think first of all, probably the biggest story of the whole thing, at least to me, was the Cardinals calling up Zach Thompson.
Yeah.
He has had a range of placements on Cardinal prospect lists that at times he looked like he was the next, top Cardinal pitching prospect. He had a little bit of a rough 2021 that really lowered a lot of his rankings, a lot of the expectations. But he came back in 2022 looking really good. If you just look at his baseline numbers, ERA, things like that, you might not be particularly impressed, but all of the underlying numbers look great. And, it earned him a call up, I think, a lot sooner than, I guess you're saying that for pretty much all of the prospects as the Cardinals continue to dump their farm into the major leagues. But I truly, even more than Liberatore, like I did not expect this. We always knew Liberatore was pretty close to being like next man up, but I really didn't think we'd get Thompson in this at all.
Yeah, and I think the Cardinals chose a perfect spot. Like Nate said, I think also a lot of credit where credit is due. Oli and the staff, and I'll give Mo and Gersh some credit for getting the right guys in the right spot and kind of setting guys up for success and making, a very tattered pitching group look really good in 5 games. It was patchwork and it was slapped together, but they look good. But yeah, I think, like Zach Thompson came in that blowout, or the game became a blowout. And the headline for me was 97 on the inside corner and right-handed hitters. He just kept being able to hit that spot on the top of the strike zone, middle and lower half, and was pounding, high 90s from the left-handed side in on those righties. And then everything else just kind of fell into place after that. It took him a second to settle in. The first inning was a little bit rough, but you just saw him being able to hit that spot over and over again. And, that could be a whole career right there. If you could make that pitch with consistency, you're going to be a good major league player for quite a while. That's kind of Steven Matt's whole game. Although I think, obviously Thompson's got a little more life on that fastball, and that seemed to be playing up really well. But yeah, what else do you say? The guy came in, he was a little shaky in the first inning, had 3 more innings, looked fantastic, and the stuff was not what I expected. It was plus stuff. I'm excited about him.
He got a save in his big league debut. I love the 3
working man save too. Yeah.
I'm excited, and I wouldn't surprise if he doesn't get a ton more opportunity in the near future as guys like Flaherty come back. But like, what a good piece to have in the wings if needed. But 4 innings, 4 innings were wild this week. We had probably the Zach Thompson was definitely the most unexpected because of like the need to call up a guy, select his contract, all that stuff, just you never expect that to be the thing that they go to. But arguably more unexpected than that was Genesis Cabrera going 4 innings
Yeah.
in one of these games and looking good throughout. He is someone that I think we're both big fans of. He's been an impact player for the Cardinals for a while now. But it's always really felt to me like, all right, every inning is like there's just the chance of the blow up. The he's going to walk someone, he's going to hit someone, and everything's going to fall apart, and they're going to have to pull him out. I don't know I didn't do any data to back that up, but anecdotally, it's like he's either super effective or he's not, and every inning is like rolling that dice, right?
Yeah, Mary and I just watched the Mighty Ducks 1 the other night. And do you remember Fulton Reed, the guy that the slap shot was so hard that he would knock the goalie back into the goal?
Yes.
Genesis Cabrera is Fulton Reed. It's 1 out of 5. He looks great. I think that's the Fulton Reed rule.
Yeah. Okay.
I've rewatched
Knuckle puck.
That's Mighty Ducks 2, you idiot.
I know.
Keenan, shout out Keenan. But yeah, I mean, he looked fantastic, and he was kind of fighting in the first inning and then kind of settled in, and to the point, like, he threw more pitches than he's ever thrown in a major league game, to the point where I'm thinking, okay, is this desperation move? How did they get him ready for this? Has he been lengthening out without us knowing? Is he a potential spot starter down the road? He came up, we traded for him when he was a starter. Is that something that's going to happen to Genesis Cabrera? But like, I know it's only 4 innings, but it was fantastic, and it could not have come at a better time. I mean, it was necessary. I could not believe each time he kept coming back out. I couldn't believe it though, and he performed amazing.
Apparently, he told Oli Marmol before the game, like, I've got 4 in me tonight for you. And I love
called
that.
A shot, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that Oli Marmol's like, all right,
see what you got, brother.
Big dog, go out and eat.
Oof, oof.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, maybe this is the start of a new version of Cabrera. More innings.
I mean, if you can get 98, for multiple innings out of the left-hand side of the bullpen, like, I'll take that. That's a highly, highly valuable player. That's Andrew Miller.
Right. One last 4 inning story. Palante, 4 inning start. Continued to do what he's been doing.
Yeah, 4 walks, which, was less than ideal. But I think, if there was pick out a nice headline, is that he kept the Cards in the game. And that fastball looks to be legit. He was hitting high 90s the whole time, and people were not catching up with it. That thing must have crazy rise on it or something. Like, the spin on that must be out of control, because he's making a lot of hitters look very stupid and just pumping fastballs. And then the curveball was obviously looking good, but the main weapon he was using was that fastball. And that's pretty exciting when a young guy can come up and just throw heat and get a lot of guys out like that.
Yeah. And as we said, the Cardinals needed every inning this series that they could get, and it was coming from all sorts of places, including they got a huge chunk of innings from Dakota Hudson. I know, at least in talking Dak Hud, at the beginning when we did our little, we did our like bold predictions for the season.
Yeah.
And your bold prediction was Miles Mikolas was going to step up and be the best pitcher on the Cardinals. And, so far, you've been, leading as far as that bold prediction goes. And mine was Dakota Hudson would step up and be, the best pitcher on the Cardinals this year. And I'd been trailing pretty far behind you on that gamble. But recently, Dakota Hudson's been really looking good. A couple of 7 inning starts, which obviously the Cardinals need.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dak's made a huge adjustment in the past 2 starts, and I think it's twofold looking at what he's been doing, and it's only 14 innings, but it is a significant change. First off, he stopped walking dudes. That alone is going to help every single pitcher in the big leagues, obviously. But what I think is more interesting is the emergence of the Dak slider. Guess what? It's super nasty, and people cannot hit it. So he has been using that a lot more during his last start, the start against the Rays that happened last night as we're recording. He threw that slider more than he threw the sinker, which is, I don't have this number in front of me. I should have looked this up. I would wager that that's never happened. Now it only happened by a couple. It was, I think he threw 31 sinkers and like 33 sliders or something like that. But that's a huge adjustment for somebody who has traditionally just pumped seekers and then kind of thrown some breaking balls and some off speed stuff and mixed it in. But to speak to kind of dwell on the game that just happened, he was throwing that slider over and over again. And the Rays whiffed on it 35%, which is huge.
Yeah.
And I was kind of curious. So I was like, okay, the slider is playing really well over the last 2 games. And I just thought, let's go take a look at Fangraphs. Love our, shout out Fangraphs with all their graphs for fans, which are fantastic.
Arguably the best part about Fangraphs is all of their graphs for fans.
And something I like to go to, especially when you see performance like this, is I like to go to the pitch value. And the pitch values are effectively the ERA of a pitch level measurement. Above average pitch value in a given season equals above average pitch. And really what it's kind of tries to quantify an ERA for a pitch, and it quantifies it in a number. And I don't know if that is all important. And I guess look into that more if you want to. We don't need to break that down too much. But anyways, I go to look at these best sliders since the beginning of the month, and Dak has the number 1 slider in baseball, not in the Cardinals, not in National League, in baseball. And it's not even close. Dak's slider has a pitch value of 4.3, and the second best slider in baseball over that limited time, of course, is Justin Verlander at 2.3. So that's almost double the value. And, obviously we know what Justin Verlander brings to the table. And I am by no means saying that that is where that's going to stay or anything like that.
Yeah.
Really, what I want to call out is just Dak has made a very significant and a very obvious change to his repertoire and kind of how he's going about his starts. And that slider has gone from kind of a pitch that was on the peripheral, he was, sinker, 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 to becoming his best pitch, one of the most effective pitches in baseball. And I think for Cardinals fans, that's something that we should really key into every time he starts going forward is how's that slider playing? Is it tunneling well with the sinker, and how, it's obviously been effective early. How's it going to keep playing out?
Yeah. A return from major injury and a repertoire change is, kind of a recipe for like the Dakota Hudson that we knew before may not be what we're seeing now. Right. He's going into a new version of himself. I would be interested. I don't know what the, that metric is measuring the effectiveness of the slider, but I'm assuming it's also taking into consideration, or really all you have is it's against the people that it was thrown against too.
It is how the individual batters are performing against that individual pitch. Yeah.
So it's like a lot of that's against the Cubs, who have a pretty bad lineup. So like it's probably going to be inflated a little bit because of the opponents that the team that he's playing. But I mean, again, still you can't control who you're playing against.
Right.
All you can control is what you are doing in those games. And same with what we said with Gorman. Yeah, it's a small sample size, but it's still, you would definitely take the best in baseball outcome in a small sample size than any other one. So
yeah, and
that's exciting.
As I was kind of looking into that, I was curious if there's anything else, like, is there a spin rate spike or anything like that? Is there anything else to look for? And really, no. I look back at the net spin rate of his 2019 slider, and it's pretty much in line. It seems to just be that he is using it more. And I think the only other thing to really point out about it that I found interesting is that he is in like the 90th percentile of velocity for the slider. He throws his slider really hard. I think it maxed out in that Rays game at 92 miles per hour, which, yeah, that's basically a sweeping cutter, at that point, coming in at 92 and breaking like it did. So, that's the one thing to kind of point out is, it's hard, which maybe fits well. The sinker kind of goes towards the right-handed pitcher and the slider goes towards the left-handed hitter. Those I see those pairing up well, but like I said, pretty cool. And I don't know, that'll be something I'm really locking into in future Dak Hud starts.
Yeah. Well, great reporting, Ben. Definitely something for us to continue to monitor.
I don't know why you sounded condescending, even though I think it was a compliment, but
sure.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a lot more stuff to talk about. But before we get into the back quarter of the show, we want to remind everybody that this show is supported on Patreon. If you enjoy the show, want to support us, support its growth, and become a super cool member of the Bird Squad, our private Discord server, consider contributing to our Patreon. You can find that at patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Shout out to all of our existing Patreons and to all of those who are considering joining it. We'd love to have you. If you want to support the show in other ways, consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps, and they're fun. They make us feel good. Ben, where can people find us online?
Yeah, make sure to give us a little follow on Twitter, Talk About Birds on Twitter. Again, at Talk About Birds on Twitter. You can also follow us on Instagram at Talking About Birds. Decided to use two different handles for those socials, so good luck figuring that out on your own. Per usual, if you have any questions for us, comments, concerns, questions about Nate's personal life, he's currently refinishing his basement. He's going to have a man cave or whatever he's going to call it. I think he said he's going to get one of those signs that says man cave on it.
Yeah, it's for sure. And like a Budweiser neon sign.
I imagine you smoking a cigar in the basement by yourself and the only light on is a lava lamp.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
and you have your dark thoughts.
That's like, don't come. I'm in my dark meditation.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to talk to Nate about that kind of stuff that he's clearly very passionate about, email us questions or thoughts, concerns, anything at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com.
What a
other than that,
awkward combination of features: a lava lamp and cigar smoking.
Yeah, I just think that's your vibe.
Thank you.
Don't fight against it. Just let natural things happen. You don't need to fight against your ways.
My evil machinations. All right. Well, speaking of evil machinations, Budweiser had some machinations of their own. Not much to say on this, but I think we just, we'll take any chance we can to share in the bromance that is Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright. So
so to be clear, Budweiser is doing a whole ad campaign about Yadi and Waino, 17 years together, championships, gold gloves, all the starts, all the records and everything that they're doing right now. And the commercial's so cute. It brought a little tear to my eye. I think a little evil tear, showing all the highlights of the 17 years of them playing together. But I think the standout for me was, all the baseball stuff is good and everything like that. But the way the commercial spot ends is just those two kind of chit chatting over a couple of Budweisers, and then they do a clink and a smile.
Yeah.
And I just love it. And I hope, I'm going to go, I'm a sucker for this kind of thing. Like I'm going to go buy those limited edition cans and I'll probably put some on my little wall of baseball memorabilia that's a little off camera here. But I love it. I think it's adorable. Keep doing it. Give me more of it. I want to drink buds with my buds.
I mean, we are, very fortunate to have been a part of, watching this their entire careers together. And
I consider myself to be directly a part of it. I feel like I'm in the relationship with them.
Yeah, I believe firmly that if it weren't for me, none of this would have happened.
It's adorable. Watch the video. It's great.
Well, speaking of honoring, man, I'm killing it with segues today. Speaking of honoring Yadi, everyone's favorite baseball player, Manny Machado, actually had I think a great point, and I think all of Cardinal Nation is in agreement with Manny Machado on this one. Ben, do you want to read the full quote here?
Yeah, I'll read. I have an edited version of the quote, which I found a little bit funnier.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read what Manny said. I think this came out yesterday. It's kind of bovine dung that teams are not giving him a farewell tour, Machado stated. I'll tell you that right now. Why? Albert has been the best player in our generation to ever play this game. And to see him going or doing the things he's doing, I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's freaking special that St. Louis gave him the opportunity to come back and finish off his career as a Cardinal. And really what it came down to is where's the hurrah? Where's the parade? Where is the chair made of broken bats that Mariano Rivera got? Is this small market? Is Pujols maybe not as beloved as one might think. I don't fully understand why it's not
Yeah.
happening, because he is like Albert Pujols. If we're going to compare it 1-to-1 to the other players who have gotten a nice send off, like Albert Pujols is better than Derek Jeter and Mariano. Oh my God, my brain. Mariano
Rivera.
Rivera. See, I can't even remember the guy's name.
Yeah.
And I would actually, I'm just making this up off the top of my head. I would imagine those two players' WAR totals combined are probably close to Albert Pujols. That might be
Yeah.
hyperbolic, but I bet it's
I
close.
think you might be right. We can look that up while we talk. But yeah, so I have a couple theories on it.
Yeah.
And I first of all I agree with Manny Machado. What I don't remember, I remember a lot of these farewell tour stuff. And I thought it was really fun for those guys. But I was thinking, there's two factors here. One is that and probably predominantly, he has spent the last 10 years not playing in the National League.
Right.
So what you saw on like Rivera and Jeter's farewell tours was a lot of these teams that like he beat up on. These two guys would beat up on for like 20 years. Like the Twins did something. I think the Red Sox did something. These teams that they play all the time. But a lot of these NL Central teams, or even just NL teams, especially because of the Angels like never making it deep into the playoffs outside of interdivision games. And Pujols hasn't necessarily been very good for like 10 years either. Like there's not this like, boy, are we glad you're leaving?
Right.
Like that sort of underscored the fun of what they were doing. It's like, we're so glad you're retiring because you kicked the shit out of us for 20 years. Here's a bat or a chair made out of all the broken bats. And so that just doesn't exist here. So all this would just be honoring one of the best players of all time, which is itself probably should be happening, but there's not that like rivalry element that I think some of those other teams were bringing to the table when they were doing those sorts of things. And then also, if I remember correctly, a lot of that happened near the middle end of the season.
Right.
And so I think like if teams are going to do that, they're doing that later, whenever the season is, maybe it's the last time the Cardinals are playing the Cubs, or I know we just finished up the Mets series, but like it just seems like that's more back half of season stuff when there's still so much baseball left to play.
Yeah, I think that's probably right on. But yeah, I guess to summate that, one of the few times I've agreed with Manny Machado.
Derek Jeter, 73 Fangraphs WAR. Mariano Rivera is at 39.1. So Pujols is definitely going to be less than that. But
that is pretty close, though.
It's Pujols is at 86.8. Now this is Fangraphs WAR. He's much higher on Baseball Reference, where he's at. He keeps like touching and going above and below the 100 WAR metric. So he's about 20 WAR below those two guys, but still that's two inner circle Hall of Famers combined, and he's not that far below that. So, yeah, I hope something happens. I think it still will, and maybe through the hard work of Manny Machado, this will finally happen. Let's talk about some broader news around the league. Something happened just recently that I think you and I celebrated a lot. And then something very similar, but just less funny happened. Joe Maddon and Joe Girardi were both fired after, 2 months into the season, where both of their teams are underperforming expectations. The Angels at one point were looking like the best team in the West, at least, and they've now lost 13 games in a row. And Joe Maddon sort of shrugged his way through the whole season and was fired for it.
It is. I heard Dave Schoenfield, he tweeted this earlier today. It is the first time that a team 10 games over 500 have gone on a losing streak of more than 10 games, which is incredible. That's like quite a fall. Before we dunk on Joe Maddon, I do want to give him one point of credit, and that is that I believe that the reason that we have the Shohei Ohtani that we have gotten to watch over the past 2 years is because of Joe Madden and him being kind of open to, Ohtani kind of doing his own thing. That being said,
Yeah.
he's really just not putting the reins on Ohtani. It's 100% Ohtani's, doing for being amazing.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he gave him that freedom. And then I want to ask you another question. Is walking a batter with the bases loaded, with the lead, a fireable offense in itself?
I don't know that there's any one like on-field decision you could make that is a fireable offense. But if there is one, it's pretty close to that, right?
Yeah. I guess I'll throw another question at you. Telling your first ballot Hall of Famer, best player in baseball center fielder that he'll be moving out of center field before the season starts and before having talking to him, saying that to the media, is that a fireable offense?
We're getting a lot closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think most of these guys have been doing it for long enough that you don't normally get fired for one thing, but it's all of this stuff combined, right? Like he is just
He seems to be on autopilot or something. Like, what's the guy?
yeah.
I think you could have argued 10, 15 years ago, maybe not even that long ago, that Joe had a bit of an edge to him. He had, you and I do not find his brand of bullshit to be all that charming, but other people were buying it for a while. And it just seems like he was kind of phoning it in his Angels
Well,
career.
I mean, there was a time where I thought that, Joe Madden was, is everyone when he was with the Rays, he'd do the things that no one else would do. He's that quirky, he invited a clown to the dugout or whatever, like
There was
that.
definitely a magician in spring training one year.
Yeah, like that sort of stuff. That was, I think, during his Cubs time when he started to get particularly annoying. But like, there was a time where I distinctly was like, the Cardinals should fire Mike Matheny, which that
Yeah.
was not a unique thought. I was thinking that
No,
most of the time.
no.
And go and get Joe Madden. He is the best manager in baseball, and I think that he should manage the Cardinals. And I'm glad that they did not. I think he is a turd. I think he's the definition of a turd.
Blowhard.
I think he's obnoxious. I've talked about it on the show before, but it was like when he was with the Cubs, it's a couple years ago, where the Cubs and Cardinals got into sort of a a beanball back and forth, and Madden had called a couple of his own, and it happens, and he was in a presser after the game, and he started saying like, what I think it really comes down to is the character of the players and how they were raised. And, I think we're starting to understand a little bit better about how some of these guys were raised. I'm just like, man, you are such a turd, and then I think he's lost it. I think that edge that he had, that willingness to, make decisions that other people weren't, like, I think the league is caught up, so he's not really unique anymore, and so he's getting more and more extreme with that, where he's like, I'll be even more quirky, and I'll walk a guy with the bases loaded, and no one will see that coming. And it's like, yeah, Joe, because it's stupid. So I don't know. I could rant about him for a while, but I'm glad he got fired. I think he sucks.
I think he got too much credit for how the Rays do their business. Because you watch, the Rays are still cutting edge, and Kevin Cash is one of the better managers in baseball. But I think that the Rays built up his little persona, or the aura that was around him.
Well, I remember reporting at the time being like, all of the fans of other fan bases around the Rays were like, no, Joe Madden sucks.
Yeah.
And I always interpreted that as like, well, they're just, it's like the other team's manager. You don't like that person. But now, after he's with the Cubs for so long, and it's like, no, Joe Madden does suck. It's like, I've never felt that way about an opposing team's manager, almost ever. I'm normally like, yeah, they seem like cool guys. I just don't like the team they play for, that they manage. It's like, Joe Madden sucks. He is obnoxious.
I have no problems with any of the managers in the NL Central right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we might criticize some of their, decision making, but like, that's what you do to managers, know. But none of them are obnoxious like he is. So anyway, he'll probably historic achievement with the Cubs. He'll probably get another job somewhere. But I think the
he's
shine.
Done.
Yeah, you think so?
I think he's done.
He might just.
He's
be
68.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the
I don't know.
guy's done.
LaRussa's 132 years old and he's still out there.
Maybe Joe will make a handshake deal with an owner. I guess I could see that happening, like LaRussa, but yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
Also, not a Hall of Famer. I've heard some chatter about that on Twitter. Not a Hall of Famer.
I don't know. Enough time. The Cubs thing, that might be enough.
Boo. I guess
He's got
moving on
manager of the
from
year a couple times.
yeah,
I don't agree with it, but like, winning it with the Cubs is a big one.
Who cares?
Yeah,
he did one. He did one thing good once.
Yeah,
and really, doesn't Jason Hayward get all the credit for that mid-game speech?
It's a good point.
That's really what brought it together. Yeah,
Hall of Fame for him. Woo! Dodged a bullet on that one.
Let's move from one obnoxious Joe to another obnoxious Joe. Joe Girardi also got fired this week. I find Joe to be obnoxious in a different way. Like the fact that he'll like lie to the press about injuries and who's starting that day, and he'll do just like these little tricky things to get a slight edge. Some of the reports I was reading is that he is just a guy that pushes people and pushes people and pushes people. And my understanding is the guy, the interim manager, whose name I didn't write down, is very laid back. So, it's not surprising that the Phillies have kind of bounced back a little bit already. I guess, I don't know the thing with both of these teams, and we were kind of talking about this in our chat, is that like the Phillies are very flawed and the Angels are very flawed. The Angels can kind of get away with it because they have two of the best players in baseball. The Phillies have one of the best players in baseball, but these teams are flawed. This isn't really going to change the trajectory, in my point of view, for either team. I could see the Phillies playing slightly better, and I could see it not making a difference for the Angels. Because it's not like Ohtani's going to unlock something new now that Joe's gone.
Yeah.
And actually, Trout just went on the IL, so we'll see what happens there.
Well, most of the time, I mean, we can hate on both of these guys, but most of the time, managers are fired because of poor performance of their team, which we all also know that like the manager is a very small percentage of that,
right?
And like the ownership groups need a scapegoat, and they let guys go, and unless you're someone like Mike Matheny, probably you were doing fine, and you just have been let go for like ceremonial purposes. I mean, most managers and most teams are frequently moving around managers. We have like a sort of a as Cardinal fans, like our perception on managers, I think is skewed because of the team has clearly made a commitment to like they really don't like to change managers unless absolutely have to. Well, it's been a little different the last couple of years, but like
you really don't see much midseason anymore. That used to be more of a thing, and you really don't, especially before even the All-Star break, this early in the season. Hard to remember the last time that's happened.
Yeah. So it's pretty surprising, but like you said, I don't expect a significant turnaround for either of these teams. Like we've been making fun of the Phillies all year for making a roster full of designated hitters and
a bold brand of baseball there in Philly.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. So let's go to our last two quick topics here. Who is doing really, really well is Aaron Judge. We talked a lot about his offseason decision to forego a almost $300 million contract. Everyone kind of called him stupid for it, ourselves included. The Yankees were basically like, look at this dum-dum. They did something no one ever does, which is expose the exact details of the contract they offered him that he declined. And we all said, Aaron Judge, you are a crazy person for doing this. Well, I don't know if he'll still get a better contract offer than he had last season because it was a very good one. But he's certainly doing exactly what he hoped he would be doing this season. He's on pace for over 60 home runs this season.
Yeah, and I guess I want to ask you, because of the McGuire and the Bonds and the Sosa of the whole situation, if he breaks the OG record, if he hits 61 plus, are you going to be locked into that as the season winds down? Is that going to be something that you would find yourself excited about? Or are you kind of like, this record's all messed up, I don't know what to think about this?
Kind of both. Like I am a I don't know, it's a word. What's the word for this? I was gonna say steroid apologist, but that's not how I really feel. But I think like I'm more of the type of the record's a record. They should be in the Hall of Fame. Like, whatever asterisk, whatever. Like, but it is what it is. And that's truly how I feel. But it also would be an incredible accomplishment for someone especially this season with all of the dead ball talk and everything, for someone to get even close to 62. And so I would not be, I guarantee you there will be a camp of people saying he's the real record holder, if he does do it. I will not be on that camp, but I do think it would be a very, very good and cool story for baseball, for someone to do it again and do it in what we assume he no reason to believe he's not 100% clean. He's just a monster.
Yeah, like you look at the guy and you're just made to hit the ball over the wall. And I think like with the deadening of the ball, his ability is shining even more because he is just wiping the floor as far as the home runs go. Yeah, and I'll say I think we'll see how the summer goes and everything like that. But I think that this is something once it starts to get close, if he can stay healthy, all those ifs, I think I'll be pretty keyed into this. I think I'm kind of excited about the potential of it getting those gaudy home run numbers again.
Yeah.
Like if there is anyone in baseball, it's either him or Giancarlo that can do it. Because those guys, they are unmatched in their power. So yeah, I'm hoping for it. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And then seeing a home run champion with asterisks or whatever you want to call whatever he ends up doing, go out in the free agent market will be pretty exciting. And can't wait to see him in Cardinal red next year.
Yeah. Certainly that'll be where he lands.
Yeah.
We'll see. And then finally, our old friend Trevor Rosenthal is out there trying out for teams.
I think it's interesting. Guys throwing hard. Cardinals could use pitching. I don't know. Bring the kid back. He's not a kid. He's like our age, but I don't know. I wouldn't mind the Cardinals taking a flyer on him. We could always use a guy in 98 in the bullpen.
He looked good before his injury like a year and a half ago or whatever. So, why not? Familiar face. Well, speaking of closers, Ben, I've got a new game for us this week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First off, I want to thank Cardinal 70 from the Bird Scored for the idea of this. And I'm going to use the name he suggested as well. And we're calling this game Chain of Events.
Okay.
So we've talked a little bit about Waino and Yachty and their how much they've stuck in the position, and you've really had no doubt on the Cardinals for the last 20 years who's the catcher and who's the starting pitcher. But that's not usually how baseball go, right? Usually you have quite a rotation of guys going through these different positions. And the idea of this game is I've selected a position and we're going to go back to an arbitrary date of time. And you need to tell me who was filling this position primarily during this year. Okay.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
I feel confident.
Well, I've tried to make it simple, but I'm using. I realize a lot of our games we've been doing a lot of position players.
Yeah.
Not this time. We are talking about the closer. So how do you measure a closer? Well, I think the simplest way to put this was who led the team in saves.
Okay.
So we're going to go.
Ooh, there's been a lot of names.
I know, right? So we're going to go back all the way back to the ancient time of 2004.
Ooh, okay. Yes.
And you're going to guess who led the team in saves that year. And if you get it right, you'll get our familiar crowd cheering. And if you get it wrong, you're going to get our classic "You're Out" sound.
Okay.
Wait, hold on just a second. Okay. You're out! There you go.
Okay. You have too much fun with these.
If you get it wrong, I will tell you who it is, and we will go to the next year.
Deal. Okay.
So I think the challenge here is that we've had some stalwart closers that have gone for multiple years, knowing when they switched And then we've had a bit of a turbulent ride at closer for a while now too. So
there are some no names in here that I am going to really have a hard time with. I feel very good about the first one though.
All right, 2004. Who you got?
Izzy, right? It's got to be Jason Isringhausen. He is burned into my brain forever.
Jason Isringhausen. 2004, 47 saves.
Not bad.
2005.
2005. I would guess it was still Izzy.
Yep, still Izzy. 39 saves.
Okay.
2006.
I'm going to. I think it was Izzy again. I want to say. I don't know if this is. I might be breaking the game, but I think that he was the closer until 2007.
Okay, so your guess for 2006 is Jason Isringhausen,
yes,
which is correct. And we'll just keep this writing. Yep, you got it. 2007, he was also the closer. He had 33 saves in 2006 and 32 saves in 2007.
Okay.
We are now at 2008.
Now this, I'm very positive because I'm trying to. So I'm just going to walk everyone through what I'm thinking. So 2006, he was ineffective or maybe injured at the end of the year. That's why Waino was closing out that World Series or closing out the playoff run in the playoffs and in the World Series. And then he came back and was very bad. And then I believe the next year he lost his closing role. And I want to say that Ryan Franklin was the one who stole the job from him. Oh my goodness. Okay, that felt good.
I was unsure if you'd get that transition because Ryan Franklin had 17 saves that year.
Okay.
And so that is when he took the job. And I think I don't have it written down, but when I was doing the research, Isringhausen had like 14 or something that year. Like it was really close. It was definitely a transition year.
So I want to say Franklin had it that year, and then he had it the next year.
Okay, so 2009 and 2010, you're saying Ryan Franklin.
Yes.
Crushing it so far. So in 2009, Ryan Franklin had 38 saves. In 2010, Ryan Franklin had 27.
Yes.
Now,
okay.
2011, who led the team in saves?
Oh my goodness. It wasn't Ryan Franklin anymore. I don't think. Oh my God. I want to say oh man. Wait. I was going to say Russ Springer, but I think Jason Mott. Crap. I'm going to say Jason Mott.
You're out!
Oh, damn it.
In 2011, Fernando Salas. 24 saves.
He had a great year that year.
He did.
Wow, totally spaced on Salas.
Yep. This is where it's getting trickier.
Yeah.
You got one out. 2012.
2012. So Mott must have been gone at that point. I know Bud Norris is in the mix somewhere, but I don't think he's there yet. Obviously, Giovanni's not there yet. Russ Springer, I know, got some saves. My goodness. Trevor Rosenthal was not here yet either. I don't think. I'm gonna say Russ Springer.
You're out!
Damn it.
So this was the big Jason Mott year. He had 42 saves.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my timing is all messed up now.
Yeah, you've got two outs. I knew this would be the turbulent part of it. Although I don't want to spoil anything. So 2013.
I am going to again guess. Now I'm worried that Russ Springer's not in the conversation. Because I know like Rosie shows up around this time. as memory serves at least. I'm going to kick Russ Springer to the curb, and I'm going to go with Rosenthal.
Yeah!
Damn it,
man! What a collapse after a great start. Missed 3 in a row, and I don't. But this is the one that I actually was like, I don't think you're gonna get.
Yeah,
but he did have 37 saves, so it wasn't. He was the closer for a lot of the season. Edward Mujica.
Oh, yes. He had that crazy changeup that would move like 12 inches the last second. Yeah, forgot about that. And then I think he went to Boston or something. Okay. When did Rosenthal come in? Do you have that?
So
was Springer on the list?
No,
Answer
Springer
me.
was not on the list.
When did Bud Norris come in?
You were very close to getting back into names that you clearly know.
Yeah.
Trevor Rosenthal led the team in 2014 and 2015 with 45 and 48, respectively. Yeah. Then Final Boss himself showed up, Seung-Hwan Oh.
Oh my God. Seung-Hwan wasn't even in my radar. Yeah.
He led in 2016 and 2017 with 19 and 20, respectively. So, there was definitely a bit of a committee. 2018, Cardinal killer legend Bud Norris, 28 saves.
Bud Chuck Norris.
Yep. 2019, Carlos Martinez with 24. 2020,
Giovanni, right?
Well, 2020, Andrew Miller and Gallegos tied with 4.
Okay.
So, it was the shortened season.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I'll give you another guess. Last year, who led?
Giovanni.
Alex Reyes.
Oh my God. Okay. Turn off the episode. Turn off. I knew that. We talked about his all-star run last week. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
All right. Well,
wow.
I mean, you showed up, which is usually what they say. That's the hardest part of the game, is showing up. So
yeah. If you can't be smart, you better be lucky. If you're stupid and unlucky, then I guess you're me.
Then that's the Vin Samorka experience.
Wow, that's embarrassing. Let's edit this whole thing. Let's shelve this episode. I'm done.
Yeah. No, that's tough though. Like, I did not expect you to get Mujica. I didn't expect you to get Salas. I thought you would get Mott. You guessed like Mott before and after his actual season that he did well. And then,
why did I have Russ Springer stuck in my head there? He never, I don't know what I was thinking there.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can, he was definitely, a reliever for the Cardinals. And
he got in 07 and 08. He did not have a single save. His career game saved was 9. I was in Nowheresville, populated by me. I'm an idiot. So
he got 1 in 2009, but I don't know if that was with the Cardinals.
Yeah, 1 with Tampa Bay. Yep, I was wrong. Russ Springer sucks. I suck worse.
You got yourself in the Russ Springer hole.
Really did. Why?
Only you and your God can know that.
In my defense, I swear it's harder in my shoes than it is yours. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just complaining. Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, mediocre effort at best, but
thanks.
That was Chain of Events. Again, thank you at Cardinal70 for your suggestion. That was fun. We'll do that again with different versions, different timelines and whatnot. If you have an idea for a game for us to play, tweet us at Talk About Birds or consider joining the Bird Score at patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. We'll wish the Cardinals good luck at the rest of this series against Tampa. We will be back next week, as always, with another set of Talking About Birds on Thursday. And until then, go Cardinals.
Dak Hud.